So when I was about 6 years old, I used to put 2 tomatoes in my mouth and squash them. They'd explode, and I thought I was a living legend. One day at the dinner table, my sister was like, Matt, you should try 3 tomatoes. Genius. So I set myself up, ready to go. 1 tomato in the right cheek, 1 tomato in the left cheek, 1 tomato in the middle, and I squashed it. And in that moment, the 2 tomatoes exploded, and the 1 tomato went down my throat, completely whole, and it got stuck. And I was essentially choking to death. As I'm there, unable to breathe, I panically go over to my mum, who thinks I'm gonna be sick. So she's like, oh, Matt, just go to the sink if you're gonna be sick, and be sick in the sink. And I'm like, no, Mum, I'm actually choking to death right now. I'm trying to get that across to her. Eventually, she realizes, she starts doing the Heimlich maneuver. That doesn't work. I'm freaking out, Mum's freaking out, everyone's freaking out, and eventually I pass out because I've got no oxygen left, and my mum catches me and puts me on my front. And because I was essentially dying, my muscles had relaxed and the tomato had rolled out because gravity took its course. And I really believe God protected me that day. And although I make a bit of a joke about this story, it actually was a significant time for me that shaped the way I viewed the world around me. As a 6-year-old, this left me quite traumatized, and I believe that this moment was the cause of me struggling with OCD throughout my teenage years. I would struggle with washing my hands constantly. I couldn't touch anything around me without washing my hands and having these procedures and doing that, because I thought everything around me would harm me. And the way that I moved forward in this area was I allowed God to show me the truth of what was going on in the situation. So I was washing my hands all the time, yet that wasn't the problem. The problem was deep-rooted fear and worry. One circumstance with this tomato left me believing a lie that the world around me wasn't safe, that I needed to take control to make sure that I stayed safe. What changed in my life was the realization of the truth, that all of my life is in God's hands. Jeremiah 29:11 says that God has plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And so if I apply that truth into my life, I know that He has plans to prosper me, not to harm me, and that I can trust God with my life. And 1 Peter 5:7 tells us to cast our anxieties on God because He cares for us. So now I know that all my fears and worry I can cast to God because He's the one who cares for me. And Psalm 94:19 says that when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. I now know that when I give my worries and fears to God, because I know He cares for me, that He doesn't just take away my fear and my worry, He replaces it with joy. So I can be joyful even when I'm struggling with these thoughts. I had this fear that I needed to take control of the world around me to make sure that I am safe, but God showed me that He is in control. I can cast it all unto Him, and He takes my cares and worries and replaces it with joy, and that I can live my life free from those things. And as I started to apply this to my life, all the chains of fear and worry were broken. And I sometimes still struggle with this. I can get this urge to wash my hands, but I remind myself of the truth, and I choose the truth instead of that lie. And what would take me maybe a week to get over 5 years ago, now only takes me a second because God has renewed my mind and my thinking is in line with the truth. So what God has taught me is that my feelings go up and down. 1 minute I feel like I need to wash my hands, 1 minute I don't, 1 minute I'm happy, 1 minute I'm sad, and a situation can make me suddenly snap into this feeling of worry and fear. So my feelings go up and down. But God is a constant. He never changes. And so where am I going to put my trust? Am I going to put my trust in how I feel? Or am I going to put my trust in God, who will never change? So perhaps you can even relate to some of the stuff I've been saying, and you feel like you've been living your life from these lies and they're causing you to be insecure, full of worry and full of fears. My advice to you is to give it to God. Ask Him to show you the truth in the situation and live from that. Choose the truth today. In John 14:6, Jesus says He is the way, the truth, and the life. And I believe when we live our lives from the truth, when we choose the truth, Jesus, we will find freedom in all the areas that we're struggling with. So that's it for this week's video. Next week's video is another travel video, so make sure you subscribe to get updates on all the stuff I'm posting. And like this video and share it with your friends if you think it might help them as well. Bless you and have a good one.